In a video posted on January 20th, 2026, the owner of the Urban Recon YouTube channel, who we will refer to as Mr. Recon, recorded an encounter in Pelham, New Hampshire between himself, representatives of Bayer Transport, a towing and repossession company, and officers with the Pelham Police Department. The transport company was contracted by a third party to take possession of vans at Mr. Recon's home, which his business had been contracted to transport and store for another party. Agents arrived with what they characterized as a repossession affidavit authorizing them to take the vans. And after Mr. Recon declined to surrender the vehicles, they called the authorities, and officers with the Pelham Police Department responded to the scene.
Let's talk over here. Yeah, I got a camera on too.
They said they get some units here that you're back on payment on rentals.
Listen, this is not a matter for you and I to discuss, but they're showing up here out of the blue like that without any call, any show. I don't owe them. The people who owe them owe me. So they're coming here trying to do a hostile takeover or whatever?
It's not hostile.
Yes, it is.
They're going to order to repossess it.
From who?
It looks like there's a repossession affidavit.
That's not illegal. I can make that. That's just a document. So the end of the story is, I'm owed. They're not getting anything. I already asked them to leave. When they said they were going to leave, you guys show up. They called you guys.
Yeah, they called us.
Yeah, so they told me they were leaving. Now they called you guys.
Did you speak with an officer McQuaid yesterday about this?
No. Probably them.
You didn't speak to any officers yesterday about this?
No. Okay. Just to know, are you guys sergeants? I'm on the phone with your police department.
There's no need for a supervisor. One's on his way, but there's no need.
There's no need. So if
but he's on his way. He's on his way because you called. But there's no need.
I just called to talk to them.
We're just trying to figure out. They gave us a repossession order. Mm-hmm. We were told that this was arranged.
No,
so we're down here. So.
Not at all.
So
they just pulled up.
If you don't want to allow them to do it,
they're not allowed.
They're going to end up. Hear me out.
Let them go to court. Let them get an order. I already have a lawyer going.
Can you hear me out?
This.
Let me talk.
I already have a lawyer.
You don't want to hear me out.
Litigation.
You don't want to hear me out.
I already know what can happen. I just want them out of here.
Listen to me. They're going to report these vehicles as stolen. And if you actually do owe money on these vehicles,
I don't.
Hold on.
The company who
do you own the company?
Listen.
Do you own the company?
No. Listen. I'm not here to explain anything to you. It's very cut and dry. This company was dispatched by a company that's owed money by the owners or whoever put these vans on the road. The owners of these dispatched my company to transport them and to store them. So I'm owed money. Okay? That's the end of the story.
Who's the company that...
They need to go through litigation because I'm already first in line. They're doing the litigation for this as we speak. And if you want to vouch for, getting somebody to vouch for me, John, the Pelham Town Code Advisor, Lebowski, call him. He knows exactly what's going on here. What these guys are trying to do here, they're blocking the road, first of all. They're not supposed to. How do you just show up down here like this?
Let's not turn this into they're blocking the road and hostile take. You're throwing all kinds of buzzwords that have no application.
This is all I want to tell you.
We're going to leave because you obviously don't want to cooperate with us.
Yes.
You're throwing out
There's nothing to cooperate with. You can't just show up like this out of the blue.
We're leaving.
Okay, bye.
You're throwing out attorneys' names. So
Bye.
So we're going to advise them to seek out what they need to do.
Exactly. Not show up like this.
Well, they can.
No,
yes,
they can, but they can't get away with it. So bye.
I deal with repos all the time. They show up.
This is not a repo. This is not a repo. That's a piece of paper I can print out for you right now. I'll go repo your car right now with that paper. How about that? Yalla, get out. Get off the property and let them know they're not welcome here anytime. And if they show up, they need to make an appointment. I gave them the proper numbers to call. Tony. Yeah, that's very professional of you, Tony. Very professional. Okay, let's clear up this road here. Okay, let's clear up the road here. Let's clear up the road, please. I got neighbors. You're making me look like a big-time criminal here.
Mr. Recon objects to the vehicles being taken and asks the officers to clear the scene. When a borrower takes out a loan to purchase an asset, a lender will often require the borrower to pledge that asset as collateral, meaning that if the borrower defaults on the loan, the lender has the right to recover the asset to satisfy the debt. A lender who has secured that right through a formal agreement is known as a secured party, and the interest the lender holds in the collateral is called a security interest. The practical significance of a security interest is that it gives the secured party a claim against a specific piece of property, rather than just a general claim against the borrower. This means that if the borrower defaults on the loan, the secured party does not have to go through the ordinary litigation process to collect. Instead, the secured party can take possession of, or quote-unquote repossess, the collateral and sell it if the borrower defaults. Under Section 382-A 9-609 of the New Hampshire Revised Statutes, a secured party seeking to repossess collateral without a court order may do so only if the repossession proceeds without breach of the peace. Now, while the statute does not explicitly define the term term breach of the peace, the U.S. Bankruptcy Court for the District of New Hampshire addressed its meaning directly in the 1990 case of In re McLeod, which involved a prior version of the statute that contained the same requirement that self-help repossession may only proceed where no breach of the peace occurs. The McLeod court noted that a repossession conducted over the explicit objection of the property owner generally constitutes a breach of the peace, and concluded that the introduction of law enforcement officers into a self-help repossession, regardless of their degree of participation or non-participation in the actual events, also renders the repossession a breach of the peace. Now here, while the exact terms of the agreements between the parties involved are not clear, Mr. Recon was in possession of the vehicles, objected verbally to them being taken, and had already asked the agents to leave before they called the Pelham Police Department to the scene. Accordingly, a court would likely find that it would be a breach of the peace if the vehicles were to be repossessed under these circumstances.
Sergeant, a word.
Yes, sir.
Just a word with you.
Sure, Sergeant.
I just wanted to know what you told them.
So I looked at, we have a drill going on right now in town, not monitoring. So I reviewed the paperwork they had. They did not have the correct paperwork, even if it was for a, probably, you mind if I keep my sunglasses on?
No worries, I got the same issue.
They don't have the correct, come on, buddy.
Yes.
The right repo paperwork.
Yes.
They didn't have it anyways. So I wasn't even, so they're not going to take the cars because they don't have the paperwork anyways.
Yeah.
So like I said, I looked at it, they're going to speak to the company that hired them. And whatever civil issue you have going on with collateral or whatnot, that's between you and the other company.
Yes.
We're going to contact the other company as well and just like, hey, get their side of the story, and then give them, if they legit think you stole them or whatever it is, then they'll have to report it to that
If
town.
I stole them, you guys would have been here before them.
I get you, but you know what I mean? And also, they haven't been reported stolen yet, but that's where I believe it's Hudson.
They're not, because they don't own them. You know, everybody's owed money by these guys, so everyone's trying to act now. I already have litigation going. Litigation is moving.
Yeah.
I have first claims to these.
No, hey, I get you the way they showed up. I don't know. I know none of us spoke.
And then to use your guys as their muscle on a resident that pays taxes here. I felt that,
here for that,
you know,
but-
this officer, what's his name, Locke? Okay. You know, I just wanted your name. I'm talking to the sergeant.
I understand, but what I'm going to tell you is, I told you, we're not using his muscle. They were not walking down the street.
I know, but you're holding on to that paperwork like it's a divine intervention.
I never said that.
Yeah,
I said
he was
you
like, they got to repossess. I was like,
said
come
you
on, man,
can't
I could
force
print
them.
that out and I could repo your police cruiser.
Mr. Recon argues that the so-called repossession affidavit presented by Bayer Transport did not give the agents the authority to take the vehicles over his objection. In New Hampshire, a so-called affidavit of repossession is a document filed with the Division of Motor Vehicles by a lien holder after a lawful repossession has already been completed. In other words, it is a post-repossession administrative filing, not a document that legally authorizes a repossession. Now, it is unclear from the video whether the document presented was the actual DMV form or some other privately generated document. But in either case, no affidavit can confer the right to take possession of property over the objection of the person in possession. A secured party that cannot complete a self-help repossession without a breach of the peace must instead proceed under Section 536-A of the New Hampshire Revised Statutes, which governs replevin. Under that statute, a secured party must file a petition in Superior or Circuit Court, and if successful, a sheriff will be authorized to take possession of the collateral and hold it pending a final hearing. A court would almost certainly find that the document presented by Bayer Transport, whatever its origin, did not authorize the agents to breach the peace to repossess the vehicles under New Hampshire law.
We can't
No.
force them. They'll have to get an ex parte
Okay, just,
order because we're stolen.
I don't want you to like raise your voice just because I can't.
I'm not raising my voice.
Help.
You just want to let me talk for a couple.
I know, but what you're saying, it really doesn't add to the situation. But regardless, Sergeant Page,
So
the way they showed up here, blocking traffic, all my neighbors are looking at me like I'm done, whatever.
yeah.
That's a bad look.
And of course, that's a
and
bad
for
look
them
for that
them
company.
to do that,
Yeah.
oh, they don't care. They're repo guys.
Yeah,
They don't care.
Yeah,
They sneak around at night, and I told them, "Are you going to try to steal these like thieves in the night? Because if you do, I got this guy, you know. And if you think you're going to get away with that, that's not going to happen. Go to the proper channels. If I was owed, you don't think I would just chop these up in a chop and get my money and get over with it? I can't do that. I don't want to feed my stomach like that or my kids like that.
I get you,
So I'm going through the proper channels, and I've been waiting since August.
Yeah.
It's almost a year
It's
now.
also, speak.
Oh yeah, of course. So he's in court now.
Yeah,
otherwise.
you've been working with Zalowski, right?
Yes,
As well,
yes, he knows
the
me well.
unregistered vehicles being on the property.
Yes,
type of
exactly.
deal.
He's helping me out,
working on it, so-
and I have a track record
Yeah.
with the town. They understand the situation, but
So-
these guys are probably lower in the totem pole than I am
They're
to
just
get
guys
fed.
that got hired. You know,
I know,
they're doing the job. You know, it's
not with those documents.
the moment I saw it,
they thought I was a schmuck.
The moment
That's
I
what
saw
they
the documents,
thought.
I realized they weren't.
You understand that, Officer Locke? They thought I was a schmuck.
I don't think they thought that.
Yeah, they did, because you brought that over thinking they had the right to
There's more
take these.
information on these vehicles that I'm not going to talk about right now.
Good.
With GPS locations. So.
Oh, that's fine. I'm not hiding anything. Everyone knows where they're sitting. I'm not hiding a thing. That's why these guys came and they left. They left because they knew they had no legitimate claim to these.
What we'll do is, I need you to leave to go to the other thing, back to school.
Can I have that paperwork?
This is going to be for Officer McQuaid.
Can I take a picture of it?
Yeah, that's fine.
Because
Oh, our training kit.
Yeah, so
yeah, take care of that. All right, thank you. So like I said, man, we'll go from there. We're gonna contact the company because we have to on our end. Just say, hey, what's up? So talk.
yeah.
Everything's going on there, and then whatever the civil issue is, I'm calling it civil because I don't know the legalities of it.
It's definitely so.
You know what I mean? I don't know. I'm not gonna say you stole them or they're reporting false claim. I don't know. It's not my investigation, but we'll handle what we can on our
If I
end.
stole them, I wouldn't have two sets of keys.
Hey, I get you, man. I get you. So we'll go from there.
I wouldn't tell the town about it.
You want to be hiding them in plain sight.
Yeah, exactly.
Sergeant Page refers to the dispute between the parties as a quote-unquote civil issue, explaining that he does not have enough information to determine whether any crime has been committed. A civil dispute is one in which one private party seeks a remedy against another through the court system, such as the recovery of money or property, while a criminal matter is one in which the state prosecutes an individual for conduct that violates the penal law. The role of law enforcement in civil disputes is generally narrow. Officers may intervene if a civil situation involves criminal conduct, such as physical violence or destruction of property, in which case they may make arrests based on probable cause under Section 594.10 of the New Hampshire Revised Statutes. Officers are also authorized to enforce specific court orders, such as the writ of replevin that we discussed earlier in this episode, which directs a sheriff to take possession of property following a judicial determination. Additionally, officers may remain present to keep the peace during a tense civil interaction to prevent escalation, and intervene if the conduct presents a breach of the peace or crosses a line into a criminal violation. Outside of those circumstances, however, officers generally do not have authority to intervene in the substance of a civil dispute or to compel a party to surrender property in the absence of a court order. Accordingly, Sergeant Page's decision to decline involvement in the underlying dispute was consistent with those limitations.
So they could get
They
paid.
really thought I was a schmuck, you know, and I try to tell people all the time, don't mistake me for being a schmuck.
I get you, man. I get you. Business is business. I get
And I tried to be as professional with them. I told them, hey, Tony, this is my name. This is our company. This is the phone number to the main boss in charge. You need to talk to him. Here's Don. Here's my lawyer. I got litigation going.
Yep.
You can't take these.
figure it
And
out.
you're going to go home. He's like, all right, we're going home. And then a fleet of haulers show up and they block the road like some gangsters. Was that unprofessional?
I won't speak on professionalism when it comes to other companies. I have policies that I obey by. I don't know what their policies are. So I would, but
They're to get a job done by any means necessary.
perception is reality in a lot of cases.
Yeah.
Did it look a little aggressive? Possibly, yes,
Big
to a reasonable person.
Yeah.
But we'll go from there. I say, man, they're out of here. They're going somewhere else. My officers are out of here, and we'll let you get back to your day.
If you guys are called again, I'd appreciate if it was from me to back me up rather than these thugs.
Yeah,
That was not professional, un-American.
Yeah, and as I said, we got a call. I wasn't really listening to the radio at the time that they were coming out.
Yeah,
I didn't know
you
they were
guys are
bringing
busy, too.
3 tractor trailers.
Yeah.
I know that they were probably doing a typical
I mean, they
repo.
did the swindle
but
on
they
you
just
guys,
one
too,
come
man.
in and hook. You know what I mean? Hook and go. I didn't know they were bringing tractor trailers out there.
Following Sergeant Page's intervention, the Bayer transport representatives and the responding officers left the scene without further incident. Very little information is available about this encounter beyond what is captured in the video, and the ultimate resolution of the underlying dispute between the parties is unknown. It is likewise unclear whether Mr. Recon has filed a complaint against Bayer Transport or the officers involved. Overall, the Pelham officers get a B+ for correctly identifying the insufficiency of the repossession affidavit, declining to facilitate a repossession that did not meet the legal requirements for self-help, and appropriately characterizing the underlying dispute as a civil matter outside the scope of law enforcement intervention. Sergeant Page reviewed the affidavit presented and recognized that it did not constitute valid authorization for a repossession, a conclusion that was almost certainly legally correct, given that the document was at most a post-repossession administrative filing and not a court order authorizing the seizure of property under circumstances constituting a breach of the peace. His refusal to allow officers to compel surrender of the vehicles reflected an accurate understanding of the limits of law enforcement authority in civil disputes, which does not extend to taking sides in creditor conflicts or compelling the transfer of property in the absence of a court order. However, the grade falls short of an A because the officers who initially responded treated the repossession affidavit as facially sufficient before Sergeant Page arrived and corrected course, a lapse that contributed to the escalation of an already tense situation. This interaction highlights that when law enforcement is called to the scene of a disputed repossession, the threshold question is not whether the creditor believes that it has a right to the property, but whether the legal conditions for self-help repossession have been satisfied, and whether a court order exists that officers are actually authorized to enforce. And Mr. Recon gets an A for maintaining a composed and relatively respectful demeanor throughout a confrontational encounter, demonstrating a working knowledge of the legal limitations on self-help repossession, and peacefully but firmly asserting his right to retain possession of the vehicles. Despite the arrival of a fleet of tow trucks, a disputed repossession attempt, and the presence of law enforcement, Mr. Recon remained calm and engaged, consistently directing all parties toward the litigation process already underway, rather than allowing the situation to escalate. His core legal position was sound. A privately generated affidavit does not confer the right to take possession of property over the objection of the person in possession, and he was entirely within his rights to refuse to surrender the vehicles on that basis. It should be noted that because the available information about this interaction is limited to what is captured in the video, making a fuller assessment of the underlying dispute is not possible, so Mr. Recon's grade is based solely on his conduct during this encounter. That being said, I commend Mr. Recon for recognizing, in real time and without the benefit of legal counsel present, that the legal limitations on self-help repossession were directly implicated by what occurred, and for holding that position firmly, respectfully, and without physical confrontation. Let us know if there is an interaction or legal topic that you would like us to discuss in the comments below. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to check out Audit the Court if you're interested in exploring the legal nuance beyond the body cam.